So this morning I've been thinking a lot about the mind of an addict and just the mentality behind addiction. I've been thinking about it because I realized, like last night I was getting off work and it was cold. It was like winter cold, and like I didn't think about it much last night. I thought about it a lot this morning. Was that instinctually the first thing I thought about was sitting around a bonfire, smoking a blunt, drinking a beer. Like, almost been a decade since I've stopped partying, but that's like the first thing that comes to my mind. And throughout the years, as the seasons change, that's like what comes to mind when the seasons change. Like it used to be like springtime. I would think about rolling around with the sunroof open, smoking pot in my car. Like, that's what the first thing that would come to my mind, like when springtime rolled around, and it felt like that. And so I started thinking about it this morning. I'm like, gosh, like almost a decade, and that's still there. And the more I thought about it, I started to think, like, there have been like two brief seasons in my life since I like fully surrendered my life to Christ. It's almost been a decade, but like two brief seasons where like I tried to start drinking again. And I say I tried to start drinking again. Like, it was super brief. I did it in secret. I did it in isolation. And like nobody knew. But I started thinking about this morning, like, why? You know what I mean? Like the way my life was, like this morning I was on my face, like praying, and like God was just reminding me of where I was when He found me. And like I used to always I always had these memories. Like I would think back to being curled up on the bathroom floor after like a night of like just crazy partying, and then just coming home and getting sick and just feeling like death. And like how God saved me from that. And how like the mind of an addict, like all of that is forgotten. Like in the moment, all of that is past, and you don't remember any of it. All you remember is the good feeling. Like all you can think about is how good you felt. And the reality is, those two brief seasons, they were super brief because I tried to pick right up where I left off at. And I quickly, like when you're young and you start partying, like whether it's you start smoking pot, you start doing drugs, you start drinking, whatever you start doing, like there's this novelty about it. There's this like, this is brand new, this feels different, this is something new to do. But if you've ever like hung around the party for like any amount of time, or that party scene for any amount of time, you start to notice like things get old, things get stale. You got to try really hard to keep enjoying it. And eventually what happens, what I saw happen in most of my circles, was the drinking gets way harder, the drugs get way harder, and then people just their lives start to fall apart. And they find a way to just kind of maintain. And somebody I love and care deeply about, we've talked a lot about this, because in heroin addiction, you call it, you're kind of in maintenance mode. You've become so like addicted, you have to shoot, you have to do like a little bit of drug like every day, just to kind of keep yourself from getting sick. And at that point, it's not really even fun anymore. I mean, it is, but it isn't. But this guy, we talked, and like addiction is addiction is addiction. Like for the alcoholic, is the same as like the heroin addict is the same as like the guy addicted to pornography. And I know that sounds ridiculous. I know that sounds like a stretch, but all of them will look in the mirror and they'll say, "I hate you. Why are you doing this?" They'll have those moments where they will think about all the reasons they shouldn't do what they're about to do. And like my good friend said, like 100% of the time, he does it anyway. He will look in the mirror and he'll think about all these things. And it's as if rationality and all logic goes out the window in place of an emotion, a feeling, just desiring. And I started to think about my own life and why on earth did God save me from that, right? And I I couldn't believe that God would save me from something like that. And he saved me to something so much greater. Why in the world would I ever even go back to that? Like the Bible talks about a dog going back to his vomit. Like that's kind of that correlation of somebody going back to their sin. And yet the only thing I could come up with is that I wasn't complete. I wasn't fulfilled in God. Like I wasn't finding my fulfillment in him. And so it's like the old adage that the idea that we all have this hole in our hearts that only God can fill, and we will search and spend our entire lives trying to fill that with stuff and things, and we'll never do it unless it's God. And that's what it was. I wasn't fulfilled in God because I wasn't seeking him with my whole heart. And so in that place, I would think, like, you know what, like, man, I used to feel way better when I did this, but I wasn't remembering like the nights on the floor. I'm thinking about all the nights up all night with my friends, drinking and singing and playing games and having fun. And the reality is, the truth and the light. It's like at the end of the night, the club. God forbid you're at the club or the bar at closing time when the lights come up. It is a depressing place to be. The place is trashed. People look awful. And it's a very eye-opening experience, but it's the same deal with your sin. When the lights come on and you actually see things the way they are, it is disgusting and it's vile. But for the addict, you try your hardest to keep your mind in the dark so you don't have to face it, so you don't have to see it. But you're vividly aware that if the lights were to be cut on, how ugly it would be. And so you fight to stay away from the light. You fight to stay in the dark. I'm just reminded of this morning as I think about my own heart, and why is it I still think about those things? It's like the seasons change, and it's because, not that I'm not fulfilled in Christ, but like that's where I used to find my fulfillment. And there's still that like tug that tells you there's life in that. That, you know, man, if you were just to like go smoke a joint, drink a beer by a bonfire, like that would be living. One point in my life it was the epitome. It was the most fun and most life I'd ever known. Jesus said that I came that they might have life and life abundant, and that was the one proclamation that he made that I said, I want that, and I found it. And at times I've let it go, and I've tried to settle for a substitute, and I promise you there is no substitute for true life.